Hello, I'm Ed.
And I'm Ken.
And welcome to Lumbridge. So, this is our podcast. Welcome to Lumbridge. This is episode 1. I'm joined by my close friend, Kenny here.
Hello, I'm Ken. How are you doing, Ed?
Oh, just peachy, just chilling here, enjoying a good conversation with you. Episode 1. I mean,
The first of many.
I am very excited to get started on all this. So, what we've been talking about for our podcast is, this is an introductory level podcast. This is like quite literally welcome to Runescape, welcome to the game.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good idea because jumping into the meta of things, especially RuneScape, that's all high level stuff. So I feel a lot of those are niche podcasts for sure. Whereas what we're aiming to do is more of a, like Ed said, introductory, help even new players and old players alike, or even just revisit and the nostalgic feel.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why I'm excited to get this started, is because it's meant for anyone to get in, or even old players who just kind of want to remember what they went through and maybe have a good laugh along the way, because I'm sure we'll have plenty of personal stories about all the bullshit that went on back in our days.
Of course. So I guess to start it off, do you want to go first, or?
Whose account is older?
Okay, going on that metric, I actually just double-checked today, as of January 23rd, 2021. My OG account is 5,102 days old. So what was that, 13.9 years old?
I think so, yeah, just close to 14, coming up on that anniversary.
So yeah, I remember when I first started, I was in elementary school, 4th or 5th grade, and it was one of those newer things. You'd see people in the library playing on RuneScape, and I vividly remember, I think 5th grade classroom, anyone who was anybody was on those old, boob tube Mac computers, and we were just playing RuneScape. I'm pretty sure this was before the Grand Exchange, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, the good old days, where you actually had to, communicate and socialize with people.
Going to World 1 Varrock with the trade chat just blowing up your chat bar. Good luck talking to anyone. It always baffled me. How did anyone find anything they wanted? Just looking at the chat bar, you'd have to scroll so far back to just find the one person who said, selling 150 lobbies. You're like, how did you find that? Because it just get immediately swamped by selling ruins, selling gems, selling herbs, or whatever have you.
Well, that's the thing, because what you could say, I need X amount of lobbies. You need lobsters, so most likely I think people would someone would say, I got that, how much? How much you want? So then, it was organic, rather than just punching into a screen, get what you need right away. That's how I even remember. The classic Lumbridge Bank, that's where I got my first rune battle axe. Steel 30k.
Nowadays, I think it's still in the ballpark at 30k nowadays.
Yeah, but, back then you either had to make it yourself or get a drop. So for me, being a kid, I don't think I ever reached past level 60, 70 or whatever, before RS2 became RS3.
Oh, God.
So back in the original days, yeah, you had to work a bit to get what you needed. But that's what made it fun.
It was like Iron Man, but without Iron Man, because nobody fucking knew what they were doing. There was no strategy guide. It was just, here's the game, have fun. And the only reason I can remember that vividly is because for PvPers, I remember occasionally hopping on over to the over in the wilderness. That's where all the PvP takes place to this day, and people would be running around with frog hats on, Fremnik gloves, basically no combat related stats. It would just be, I want to look good and fight you at the same time.
The good old days. How old is your account? You were saying, it's not too much younger, right?
I did not do my research, but I know it's only about a couple weeks younger than yours, and you were the one who got me into play. I remember you saying, dude, you got to hop on. It's fun. It's this cool game. And another friend also showed me at one point, and for some reason, I just gravitated towards it. Maybe it was the graphics, or maybe it was just that open world experience. I think that's what it had to have been. It was my first open world experience, and I was like, this is just a vast world with almost infinite possibilities. I want to dive in. I want to see what I can do. I want to be cool.
Well, going into the whole MMO talk, I remember on the old computers I had, could barely run anything. I'm trying to download World of Warcraft. And, I was able to play it a bit, and I'm like, oh, dude, you gotta check it out, this is awesome. But you made a good counterpoint. One, you gotta pay for it. Two, traveling seems like it takes forever. You just gotta run everywhere. And I mean, that is the same for RuneScape, but at least with RuneScape, it is a bit of a smaller world, yet it's still massive. You could easily teleport places, you could easily run there, but in terms of WoW massive, it's nowhere near it.
No, nowhere near.
But it's just big enough.
It's dense. RuneScape is dense. It's big, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's definitely some areas where it is a little vast and empty, but it kind of adds at least to that feeling of the world where you do get those giant spreads of time where you're just walking through nothing and you're like, oh man, this is a giant forest. I wonder what's out there. If you were to go off the path, maybe you'll encounter some wolves or some weird other shit going on, and occasionally finding a rare tree to chop down. And then you go to chop it down, you're like, yeah, no, sorry, 60 wood cutting required for this tree. You're like, dang. And then you go and check your skills, and you're like, yew trees, man, that's some high level stuff.
Yeah, definitely the nostalgia feel of it. It never goes away. Like you even told me the saying, you never quit RuneScape. You just take really long breaks.
There have been times where I think you and I would have gone about 400 some odd days without playing. And then for some reason, it'll just spark in one of our heads like, you know what, I just want to hop on. I just want to see what's going on. And then once you hop back on, it's like, boom, I want to get back into it. I want to do something new because they always come out with new fun stuff.
Even if you can't get to the new stuff, you still have all the old material you still got to do.
It's still dense. You and I are still working through all that stuff.
No, I think that's why I like RuneScape, because no matter what, you have something to do at least. Whether it's skilling or combat or questing, you can never really 100% finish everything.
Oh, don't forget minigames and bosses.
Minigames, bosses. Yeah. I mean, now they have the raids for the high levels, which is a nice thing to see, considering Jagex said they want to make RuneScape into a more modern MMO.
Modern MMO, but still keeping what keeps RuneScape. So
yeah, what RS3 aspires to be, I feel OSRS is still on the tee with their fan base. And that's another reason I like Jagex. The player polls, whatever they implement, they ask the fan base first to see, hey, what do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you not want it? What do you want?
I think it's a 75%. It needs to be over 75% or 70% for it to pass, too. So it's it has to be more than just a small majority. It has to be a bigger majority of players in order to get that content passed. I mean, there are a few updates that once the polls suggest a broad idea, most recently, this recording is happening right before they drop the big equipment buffs and nerfs. Yeah. And they're not polling each individual buff and nerf, because they know for a fact it'll probably fail because a lot of people like high stat gear. Who doesn't want a high stat gear?
But at the same time, their whole reasoning is to, one, prevent power creep, which I am slowly noticing now, and two, to get the variety back. Because when you run out, how often do you see everyone wearing the same thing? Everyone's going for the meta, the best in slot.
Oh, it's best in slot. Shit, I'm running for best in slot right now with mage gear. Actually, I can't get the spectral or arcane spirit shield, but I know I can get the mage book, and that's just shy before the spectral / arcane.
I mean, going back to the whole noob thing, introductions, I like the update because, one, Group Iron Man's coming out.
Oh my god, that's going to be fun.
You told me that they're planning on putting OSRS on Steam?
I believe so. I believe they're trying to help branch out everything. So, most players are probably going to come from Steam, at least in terms of new players.
So RS3's on Steam. I wonder how many people of those are jumping to old school from Steam. It will be nice to see the new players, and especially if this update comes, the variety of equipment that you'll see.
Especially for free to play. I mean, right now, free to play training is dominated by the scimitar. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean, it's a weapon that it's very hard to compete with.
Yeah.
But the update at least will bring relevancy to warhammers, maces. Now, unfortunately, I don't think free to play gets spears or the haste.
No, that would be for pay to play. So members will get the spears. I mean, even then, I don't think when we first started doing the membership stuff, we saw lots of spears and hastes.
I think the hastes are newer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember halberds, but that was niche, I felt.
The nice thing about the halberd, though, it gives you an extra space, or an extra tile to hit.
Yeah.
So you could save spot with melee. So for certain training methods or other things, and if you didn't have the defense, you didn't have the HP, you'd bring a halberd and be like, I'm going to poke you from over here, but you can't touch me.
So yeah, it's pretty niche. But still, I'm looking forward to this update. Group Iron Man, definitely going to make it fun. Switch it up. No need to obsess over cities.
So for all the newer players who may not know Iron Man, when it first came out, it is basically Runescape but single player. You can't trade with other players. You can't go to the Grand Exchange. All you can do is NPC shops, trade with NPCs, and you can't use any reliance on another person. Group Iron Man is now you can have that experience, but with like a close-knit group of friends. So you can kind of divvy up the work. You'd be like, I really hate doing, let's say, mining. I hate doing mining, but I love ruin crafting. I love doing ruin crafting. So like you can easily divvy it up. Whereas maybe the person who likes doing mining loves magic and just needs, ruins or ammunition to cast his spells. So he's like, you're the ruin crafter. I can get you the ruin essence because I can mine. On top of I can make you melee gear or whatever else that it is that you'll need for mining if you can supply me with ruins. And it'll create this beautiful dynamic between players. It will be interesting, though, how they go about quests, because some quests will require certain skill requirements.
I could see it go both ways, but I feel it's going to have each individual party member needing those stats. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you have that special herb lore guy to make potions, but it's still something nice to have in your levels. Because what if they're not on? You have the mage, but you still need some magic levels for magic defense, for simple spells. I just feel it's going to be that way. You could still divvy it up. You don't need a ridiculously high level, but it's still something nice to have. Get that well-rounded character.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point. It's definitely something where you're going to want to train it yourself. And the people who have the higher skills, maybe they have items or what have you that will help for said skill. So I guess that could be one way around it. It's like for the secondary skills, I would call them, not the primaries, like fishing.
Mining, the gathering skills.
Yeah, the one where it takes just the raw skill in order to train it and not a skill prior to help train it. But for those secondary skills, boom, you have your friends and be like, dude, I'm trying to train this. Oh, well, if you're trying to train that, I have gathered so much of this, so you can just jump right in and get that XP right out the gate. Because, I mean, at least for my perspective, the gathering skills, those will always be the biggest grind, but those are grinds that you can just do on your own time. If, like, let's say no one else is on. And
yeah, they're AFK-able. You can do them whenever, wherever. Low intensity. Plus, they could be quite profitable. And you'll slowly learn throughout the game that getting a profit, there are easy ways. They're just not, they're tedious. It's going to take you some time.
Yeah, they are a grind, and especially with Iron Man, it becomes a little bit more of a grind until you get certain magic level. Was it level 55?
55 for High Alch.
High Alchemy.
Yeah, Alchemy. You just zap the item into gold coins. And if I remember, High Alch, you get more coins than the specialty shops. Or the same, was it?
No, you actually get more coins because they always buy it for less. There is one exception, and we'll cover that another day.
But either way, it's a good way to free up inventory space, make some quick bank. Even in to this day, for non-Ironmen, They just run to the GE, the Grand Exchange. They get whatever items they need, and they just bulk buy, bulk elk, and you just slowly get that XP and money.
Yeah, I can attest to that. That's actually how I got a good chunk of my magic levels recently. It's like, man, I need to make a little bit of money and also maybe boost my magic just a little bit.
Same with me. I'm not even a mage main or expert, but it is something nice to have.
It's nice and AFKable. I mean, you can have a show going on, YouTube video, a podcast maybe, and just, zone out while you're just basically clicking in one spot. It doesn't sound fun, obviously, but
it's just how it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you get fast money. It's a tit for a tat. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the fun stuff that this game can bring. I mean, you just got through Tutorial Island. Tutorial Island can be a pain in the butt for anybody who's gone through it 100 times. Eventually, you'll learn it so quick if you have multiple accounts or if you're just coming back after playing from some time. It's just something you have to do. It can be really fast, though. I'm pretty sure Jagex is coming out with speedruns for Runescape.
Do they? I think so. I think they wanted to do speedrunning stuff. If I remember, I forgot the website, some speedrun scores site. I think it's like 4 minutes, something seconds for the Tutorial Island speedrun. I mean, even then, it's a whole bunch of luck with how that works, your success rates. But still, 5 minutes, that's not too bad knowing what to do. But like any other tutorial, it's going to be tedious if you have a gist of it already. Yeah. But it is pretty decent info. They teach you the main basics, to cast a spell, the bank system, cooking, fishing.
They touch on questing, but they don't really go into detail. It's just, this is the icon, talk to people, something will happen. I mean, that's all the detail they give you. They don't tell you how to go about quests. And that's because every quest is different. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Tutorial Island, if you haven't played the game and you have no idea what you're doing, it is educational. It does tell you this is how the game is going to work. Like, this is resources. This is your secondary skills that you use from resource gathering. Here's combat. Combat's super basic until you get to like high level gameplay towards the end where you get special attacks, and that's only for certain weapons.
You just got to get through it. I mean, once you're in the main land, you start off in Lumbridge, hence, welcome to Lumbridge.
Yep, we're welcoming you with open arms to your hometown, or at least what I would consider as the hometown, because everyone starts right over the bridge, but not in the courtyard. So Lumbridge is essentially going to be your main point of operation for a good chunk of early game, unless you want to go straight to Varrock. Varrock is straight north. It's basically the city. Lumbridge, I guess, in comparison, is like a nice small town.
The small castle town?
Yeah, I'd say it's a town. A village would be Draenor, which is to the west.
Yeah, I mean, I would still argue a lot of what you're going to be doing. I would recommend staying in Lumbridge. You get a good feel for it.
I mean, they got everything there. Crafting, with the sheep. They got sheep you can shear and then make string for. Eventually you can use the string on making jewelry.
I mean, at least from my experience, making a few accounts, even the Iron Man, you just start off in Lumbridge, everything's there. You're going to get a few levels in, get a few crafting stuff in. You could do mining, smithing, fishing. There's a handful of quests. Really easy. Just start those off. You get a few tidbits of knowledge here and there. For the most part, it's all pretty comprehensive, intuitive. But yeah, once you get to some higher levels, then you could start going to Varrock. I know that's where I'd like to be a whole bunch of time back in the day. I mean, hell, there's the Dark Wizards.
Oh my goodness, I remember the Dark... So when you're running up from the south to Varrock, there is a little tiny encampment right outside Varrock's gate. And it's filled with level 7 wizards and level 21 wizards.
You know you're a noob if you're getting targeted by them.
Especially by the level 7s. If you're getting targeted by level 7s, you know you're a new player, because the way aggro works with NPCs is if you are twice their level plus 1, they stop aggroing on you. And I always use that personally like a key really to mark my climb to the top. It's like, oh man, I can finally get these guys to stop attacking me when I'm running. Like in Falador, which is to the west of Varrock and Draenor, there's a mine there, and then there's the King Scorpion. The King Scorpion is level 34. So when I hit level 65, combat level, I'm ecstatic. I'm like, finally, I can mine ore without getting targeted by that stupid scorpion that just chips away at my health, forcing me to run behind rocks to stay safe.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, as you slowly progress, it's those little milestones that really make the game fun.
Goal setting, for sure. I mean, the milestones, goal setting. When you come into the game, it's going to seem so vast. It's going to seem so open. Every skill will start at level 1 except for hit points, which start at level 10. Look at, like, you can click on the skills when you open up the page, and you can see each milestone for the skill. And when I was first starting, I based my milestones on how cool the picture was. Like, I saw Ruin gear. I'm obviously biased. My favorite color is blue. Mithril's blue, but Ruin is a cooler looking blue. So I was like, I want to get that. I want to be able to wear gear that looks like that. So I was like, level 40, here I come.
Yeah, the gear part, definitely one of the bigger pushing factors. I mean, you level up, you get better gear, but don't you want to look cool? So you just keep grinding away. At least, yeah, for us, oh, I really want Rune. Rune's the best in slots, so you got to work towards that. Later on, when we were members, it's like, ooh, Dragon Scimitar, that's one of the best in slots, especially for strength training. And that's going way ahead of the picture later game. You got to min-max everything, but hey, it's a red scimitar, Dragon Scimitar.
Not just red. It's shaped differently too.
So you got to go through a whole quest line just to equip it. So that adds an extra layer of intrigue, extra layer of mysticism.
Definitely is a good way to also introduce yourself to the game, is setting your goal to get that. You're like, how do I get that? Well, you got to do this, which is not just getting a level. You need to go through some quests. So it's like, well, all right, what do I need to do for these quests? What skills do I need? What other quests do I need? And like that really helps open the game up, at least in my opinion, open the game up to players where it's like, there's so much to do, and like just doing things, just playing the game, adventuring, looking, and just completing things, it's going to open up everything to you. It's like you don't have to just try and fill one niche. You can just go, and then all of it will be there. So on the other side of the spectrum, you have pures, and you won't typically see new players picking pures.
And I was going to say, that seems more of a advanced thing, because once you get playing, I mean, pures have a PvP edge, of course, because they are min-maxing their stats for damage. So yeah, if you're new, don't really worry too much about it, unless you are strictly PvP oriented.
Oh, I mean, pures for PvP, it doesn't matter what the gear meta is. PvP pures will always have the upper hand, just because you'll be going up against, in terms of combat level, lower combat level players, but you have insane strength, which means you're going to be slapping for way more damage than you would expect a level 34 combat level to be slapping for.
So again, that's one of my reasons. I mean, when you're first getting started, just do what you like. Because, well, you could always make a new account to be solely like, okay, this is my gathering account, or this is my PvP account. Whereas, like, at least for me, I don't care too much about PvP, unless we're talking about Darkscape.
Oh my god.
Which, oh my god, rest in peace, Darkscape. That was fun.
That was a blip on the radar that I'm glad we lived through.
I mean, we could pick this up in a bit, but back to the point. Just go for what you want. Like, lately I've really been into the ranged skill, because hey, who doesn't want to be an archer? So if you want to do melee, just focus on melee. Look through what you want and work towards it. And like the scimitar, you will have to unlock some things, either quest-wise or skill-wise. So just do what you want for now, sort of build up to it. And unlike other MMOs, you're not stuck with the one class.
No.
You can mix it up. And I feel that's why it's fun, RuneScape. You're not stuck with the one class. You can mix it up, do what you want, when you want. Oh, today I want to slap some hill giants with some fireballs, so that's what I'm going to do. Or maybe I want to train range. That's my lowest combat skill.
I think we could actually use that as a segue into the combat triangle, where you got your melee, you got your range, and you got your magic. And
the most basic of all combat triangles.
Very basic.
Even more basic than the Pokemon's fire, water, and grass types.
Way more basic. And it's just the only thing that's important is gear. Melee equipment, the defensive gear, has really high melee defense, really high range defense in comparison to any other type of gear. Whereas when you get to the range gear, it has really high magic defense in comparison to its melee defense. And then you get magic gear, which kind of sits outside the niche because magic defense is just booty in terms of the gear. Or not magic defense itself, but the defenses from magic gear are just booty. However, if you look at the spells you got, you are equipped to saying screw you to melee. You can lock them in place with a snare or an ice spell if you're really high level. Keeping them locked in place, they have negative magic defense, so you can literally slap them from a distance and they can't do anything about it. But you're prone to range. It's like, yeah, you can freeze them in place, but they'll still be able to hit you, and most of the time your gear has a negative range defense.
So yeah, basically, melee is good against range. Range is good against magic, and magic is good against melee. And then vice versa. Melee is weak to magic. Magic is weak to ranged, usually, and then range is usually weak to melee. So it's one of those common sense occurrences. PVM, especially, it's going to be something that's nice to know. Like even recently, I'm trying to get range up. I'm at 67 ranged attack. So I was at the Ogresses, which is still free to play. So there's the Ogress Warriors, which attack you with melee. I could safe spot that. But I finally got to a high enough level where I could attack the Ogress Shamans. And usually they slap you with magic. I'd have to use Protect from Magic, one of the higher level magic. Or I'm sorry, no, Prayer. Prayer, it's a higher level Prayer. But hey, I could just grind through them, slap them up, going for their rare drop. Plus, it's still decent XP rates. Pretty good drops. Drop a bunch of good runes. So for you, Ed, that's a good way to get higher level runes. And just runes in general. I mean, yeah, you can buy them, but why waste the money? I'm cheap.
They could say rune crafting, but...
Why waste your time with rune crafting? Again, me, I'm lazy. I prefer fletching.
Oh, fletching is a fun skill. It's a member skill, but it's a skill that's super AFK-able.
Exactly.
It's nice.
Yeah, overall, the combat triangle will help you over time. Once you get the hang of it, you'll learn what's good against what. You could always check the wiki, too, to see what style is best against which monster, which is nice, because they do give you their attack stats, defense stats. Usually, they may tell you what's best against what.
If it's a boss, they typically...
yeah, for sure. Bosses, raids, all that high-end meta stuff, they are going to dissect and analyze it too much.
There is a key thing to know, though, that they don't really ever tell you in the game or anywhere else, is how your defense values work, at least for monsters. If you're looking up their stats, that is, you'll have their defense. It'll give their defense level, their range level, attack, strength, HP, magic level, all that. What they don't tell you right out the gate is for PVM, or player versus monster, or their defense level is strictly their physical defense. Like those rolls, like if you were to attack them with a slash, you're rolling against that physical defense. But if you're attacking with magic, it's actually 100% their magic level. Now when it comes to PvP, it gets a little bit more dicey. We can cover that in a later episode.
Yeah, it's more advanced. It includes more variables, especially for magic, I think.
Yeah, magic is definitely the weird one out in comparison to all of them.
But yeah, I don't even bother too much reading into it. But I will say, at least compared to the MMOs like WoW with the bloated values, it is a bit easier to determine what's going where, what's affected, which is one of the reasons I like OSRS. When RuneScape 3 brought in the new evolution of combat, they think they pretty much just added a 0 to everything, so you get the higher numbers. So I'd be like, oh, I hit a 110. What did I actually hit again? Was that an 11, or is this good? Is this bad? I don't know.
I remember when it first happened, I was like looking at my hits. I'm like, wow, I'm hitting in the hundreds? What? And then I realized they just added a 0. I'm like, I don't feel better.
Yeah.
I still feel like this is booty damage because I know what the regular damage rate is. I think what they wanted to do was make it so the base HP was 100, like in every other game. Yeah. And old school base is 10, unless you're going against like a
but
goblin.
At the same time, It wasn't necessarily broken. I feel they just did, I don't even know the exact reasons they did it. I know you, Edward, you check the news a lot more than I do. I only recently checked the whole buffing and nerfing of the equipments and the power creep, which was, I actually did enjoy reading it. It made sense, but other than that, I don't know.
I think we should address this early on, just so we don't get enough flack for it, but I know a lot of players out there really are not excited about these nerfs coming to a lot of high-end equipment, but for the most part, it makes sense. Some of them, the items aren't getting nerfed in terms of their stats. They're actually just increasing the level requirement, which I think is fair because some of this gear, it's ridiculous how much damage output you can get.
Well, yeah, once you get to level 65 or hell, even 70, 75, you're pretty much at end game. You could do anything you want, beat any noob that doesn't have the cash. And like they're saying, they want to increase variety. Whenever I go to Castle Wars or Pest Control, it's the same thing. Everyone either has the toxic blowpipe or the popular Dorgashun crossbow. The bone crossbow.
The bone crossbow.
That's what I'm using. But then they all have the helmet, the Fremnik helmet for archers, the green D-hide. Everyone's doing the strength equipment with Dragon Simi or Whip. It's the same thing. So I like the variety. Going back to the old school days, people will have frog hats and battle axes, wearing the weirdest mixing and matching of things.
It would be legendary nowadays to see someone using a battle axe. I know you actually use battle axe on your Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man I feel is a bit different. You still want to min-max, so for me that was the best rune item I had. I didn't want to risk getting the rune scimitar, because there's different Iron Man modes. I was a hardcore Iron Man, so you keep the red helmet status as long as you don't die. I didn't want to risk dying, so that was the best I had in slot. So at least with Iron Man, it takes you back to the old school feeling, the nostalgic feeling where you gotta work for everything. With these new updates, even if you aren't Iron Man, you're still gonna have opportunities to get what you want. You're going to have some leeway with stat-wise. This isn't the best for strength bonus, but it's just behind it.
I think that's, for anybody who uses the wiki, I use the wiki a lot when I go into strategies, and I feel like at least the wiki gives you a ballpark idea. It's only going to show you the top 5 or top 6 best, in order of what to use in a certain situation, but what they fail to really do, I feel like, is you can get a lot more leeway with PVM. You don't have to go into a fight or a farm with the best in slot to get the same results. It's not going to be as fast, obviously, but you can still do it. It's not unfeasible if you don't have those items. You can just do what you think is your best item to take in. I was doing Nightmare Zone not too long ago so I could imbue my Sears ring. And I was doing the prayer loadout. I don't have Fire Cape. I know I'll probably get flack for that, but I myself, I'm not ready to take on the fight caves. So I think I lack the skill to do fight caves in order to take down Jad and get the Fire Cape. So I was like, well, dang, I'm not going to bring in Fire Cape. So the best cape I have I was running a prayer equipment set. So I was like, I don't have Fire Cape. Well, I'll just bring in the vestment cloaks, the God Cloak, in order to boost my prayer stat.
But to be fair, you do enjoy the prayer setups. Going into metas, there's different builds. So if you're melee, you could go for straight attack, straight defense, whatever. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you have a strength build, you focus only on the strength stat. If you're doing magic, is there 2 different options, or is it mainly just this is the best magic boost?
It's basically what's the most accurate.
Range is the same, and then there's the prayer melee build.
Prayer is interesting because a lot of the metas it's a mix of prayer and strength. But if you run straight best in slot for prayer items, you can so for prayer, for all you new players, prayer is going to be a huge thing about mid game, later game.
It's definitely helpful, because there's the overhead prayers, which are protect from melee, protect from range, protect from missiles, which is magic. And then I think there's a few others. One's retribution.
Smite.
So smite, you attack, not only do you deal damage, you drain their prayer. Retribution, which I freaking love. Especially in Castle Wars or Pest Control. You die, just nuke.
You
deal damage.
Yeah, you deal damage to everyone around you. It's definitely a fun spell. I think there's a video online. I can't remember the YouTuber who did it, but it was like he nuked the Corporeal Beast. And the Corporeal Beast is an extremely high level, extremely high health monster.
Yes.
And all he did is took a whole bunch of level 3 semi-bots.
He had a bunch of more or less throwaway accounts, got the prayer up for Retribution. I think he was able to just throw one Chinchompa or two, nuke all of them, they all die, then boom, just a chain reaction. They all have the Retribution dealing damage. It was a pretty funny idea. I'm surprised it actually worked somewhat, but that's just the power of prayer.
Exactly.
That's a bit hard to say. Power of prayer. Say it fast.
The PP. The power of prayer. The POP.
So yeah, definitely mid-game, late-game. It's going to help you out, even if it's just to get an edge on a boss, or if you're trying to just prolong something, get a bit of extra grind in. You could do Protect from Prayer. Maybe you want to use some of the buff prayers to increase your stats. Especially in Pest Control or Castle Wars, that's what I like. Pest Control for sure, because with range, you get the extra range attack, and even if you die, it's a safe death. You just come back in full prayer, do it all again.
Exactly.
It's definitely underappreciated for the most part, unless you're in the meta.
Now, I wouldn't even actually say that. I would say, for all you new players, always pick up bones, always bury them. Free to play, that's the only way you're going to get XP. Big bones are the best possible XP for free to play. When you get into pay to play, the doors really open up. You have prayer altars, which requires you to go to a party, or a house party kind of, someone who's opening their house up. If you work on your magic level, you can eventually resurrect ensouled heads, kill them, and get good XP. It's more cost efficient in comparison to getting the best possible bone to do at the altar, but it's worth the time and investment if you really lack the money.
So anyone who has experience with RPGs knows this. More or less, a lot of the stuff you could save. Bones, just pick them up, bury them. Coins, I always like to pick them up, even if it's nothing. Hey, it's free coins. And for the newbies, yeah, I guess prayer in RuneScape, it's a bit of a different mechanic from most other games, but it's still very viable. It's definitely an integral part of the game, so just focus on it. You don't have to grind it out. It's something that just comes with the combat levels as you kill monsters or do some quests. You'll slowly get it over time. And like Ed was saying, once you get to those higher levels, there's the Gilded Altar for members, which I think you get just extra XP from doing the bones there, or ensouled heads. You get the proper magic level. Do not so much a quest line, but a mini quest line in Korund.
Yep, you
can get it.
Yeah, you got to get at least 100% in Korund to get the spell book.
So I'm sure we'll have episodes later on explaining these things more in depth, talking about it.
Yeah.
But for now, yeah, just bury the bones.
It's XP. Yeah, it's
free
XP. I mean, there's no reason to not pick up things unless you're like really honing in on keeping your inventory clean. Mm-hmm. It's like, pick up a chef's hat. Like, it might not sell if you go to the GE, or even if you're an Iron Man. Just sell to the general store. You might get a little bit of coinage, but like, dude,
for
the coinage.
Early levels, yeah, I recommend that. Every GP counts. And going back to the whole, whoa, we're going to get flack for this. Screw them. I like to say I am a hardcore casual. I will do things at my own pace. I do what I want. Sure, most of the time it's not min-maxing because I don't have 50 mil just to spend on this stuff. So I'm going to do it at my pace, do what I want, when I want, and that's the beauty of the game.
It is. And if anybody gives you flack for it, you can always hit that ignore button. Just like, I'm going to add this player to the ignore list if they're just being toxic for toxic's sake.
Exactly.
I think that's actually a great combo into talking about some of the things to keep an eye out in RuneScape. As long as you're not an Iron Man, this is like scammers, lures, people who essentially want to take advantage of you for your gullibleness. And I can tell you I've been lured twice. It's shitty. I lost a dragon plate body and I lost a Bandos chest plate. And those are really high tier items. At least maybe not the dragon plate body at that time wasn't better than the Bandos chest plate.
But still, growing up with the game, I mean, that was the go-to. I can't equip Bandos because I don't even think I really knew what it was. But oh shit, I see the red plate body. that's dragon. I want that. How much is it? Ah, fuck, I can't buy it.
It's like, shit.
So once you do finally get it, it's just baby steps. You get the higher and higher tier gear, and you just work your way at it.
I think back in our day, the number one scam was trimming armor.
Trimming armor for free.
For free. It was adamant, ruin, and black. And black was oddly enough on par with ruin in terms of cost because it just looked badass. I mean, who doesn't want a black and gold armor?
You cannot just smith the black armor. I think that's just a special drop.
It is, yeah.
But it's still something. Listen, if you have that, you're a Fashionscape flexer.
Just any of the trimmed, you're a Fashionscape flexer. You can only get trimmed from Clue Scrolls. And for all the new players out there, Clue Scrolls, you won't be able to get any easy, medium, hard, master, elite. I think it's elite.
Yeah, those
master.
Are pay to play, or you need the membership.
But you can get, at least nowadays, you can get beginner scrolls, which give you cool cosmetics. Essentially, that's all the Clue Scrolls can give you are cool cosmetics. There are a few items, at least in the later, like pay to play, like third age gear. Third age gear is actually fairly good, at least for mage. I know for melee and for ranged, it's not technically best in slot, but it's one hell of a flex. They are several billion coins.
So yeah, how would you explain a Clue Scroll? It's more or less like a hide and seek. They give you some obscure task.
It's a treasure hunt.
Exactly, yeah. You got to follow the clues, you get the treasure.
For beginners, the most annoying thing you're going to deal with is the hot or cold, and it's just, are you getting hotter or colder to the digging place where you can find your either A, next clue, or B, the actual treasure.
So yeah, with these scams, just gonna continue on. I'm not sure if we're gonna edit this or not for continuity, but yeah, scams. I was the victim of it too. I think probably twice. Once when I was much younger in the Scape years, and one recently just because, I don't know, I was probably drinking too much. I'm like, screw it. Let's see what happens. It's only adamant. I think it was akin to the trust game. Whoever, you give them an item, they give it you back. Whoever gives the most expensive item wins. Air quote, wins.
It's rigged.
The thing to remind you about this is don't give away expensive things to anyone for free.
Never.
If they say something that's too good to be true, it probably is.
There's this is what I've learned over at least the past couple of months, and I haven't been scammed recently, and that's because I have had zero tolerance when it comes to scammers. And it's if they say they're going to do a big dollar trade and it's not done in one trade, they're scamming you. Because typically what they want you to do is they want you to put all that big dollar gear into the trade box. They'll say, oh, my main is here. Take this teleport tab. Teleport tabs will teleport you to wherever it is you want to go. They expect you to say, okay, I'll take the teleport tab, not remembering to take out your gear from the trade window and accepting the teleport tab for all the gear. That's the most common way now. It's the...
In the GE, I always see, the Skull Scepter scam?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that works. Does it have to be on a PvP world? Or is that a already dangerous area? Because they take you to, like, the dig site or something, and everywhere but that is safe.
They take you to unsafe bank areas. I can't say I've done any research on the scepter scams, just because I myself am not at that point.
I see something fishy, I ignore it. I see spam in the chat, I ignore it, and I add to the ignore list. I see CC chats, I ignore it.
Any game's a chance. That's an easy scam because they can easily rig the odds of the dice.
Oh, yeah, no, the whole gambling things, I don't like it, always ignore it. Yeah, most likely they're scams. And keep in mind, even if someone else is going along with it and it seems legit, most of the times they have accomplices.
Or a secondary account that they're just using to like say, oh, I just won $100,000. Ooh-wee, I'm a winner.
Yep. Accomplice, second account. A lot of the time, I heard a few stories actually where someone will befriend them and you think, oh, cool, they're my friend. They're giving me this stuff. But as soon as they ask you for something or, they promise you, oh, yeah, no, I'll return it, they probably won't. That's the one hard thing. It's hard to find people to trust online, but at the same time, you really shouldn't just be giving away stuff that's valuable.
No, and there's a lot of people out there I wouldn't say it's a scam, but you got people who are begging for money. Like I just encountered not even being polite, just going up to players saying, "Hey, bro, give me 10 mil." I mean, I do as best as I can to try and call them out, because if you call them out on their shit, sometimes you can get more other people to call them out. And if you can get the community to start calling out these people who are trying to take advantage of players or just get hard-earned gear or cash for free by doing nothing but just saying, "Give me, please," you can deter them away with enough people backing them. It's like recently, remember we just started Soul Wars before they fixed it, and there was that one player saying, like, what was the conversation going?
I don't fully remember, but I think, yeah, they were asking for free stuff. They needed some money, or no. I think he was attempting to buy some item. He was buying some high-tier item, and I guess...
D-Claws.
D-Claws? I'm not always on the Grand Exchange looking at the prices, but I guess he was trying to buy them for way cheaper than they're worth, probably to flip it, and I think you or someone else called him out, and they were trying to play along, like, "Oh no, that's just how it is," and then slowly he's, backtracking, "Well, that's not my fault, he accepted the trade. If he doesn't know the worth, then that's not my fault."
Essentially trying to play the whole idea of, if you're getting scammed, you can only blame yourself. And it's like, even if that is slightly true, it's like, for myself, when I got lured 2 times, obviously I'm pissed off at the players, but I'm always looking at myself. Like, I'm like, damn, I fell for that. I feel foolish. But a majority of the blame will always go on the scammers, because it's like, why'd you scam in the first place? You're taking advantage of good people who are working hard for something. It's a sad part about old school, how that there will always be players out there who are looking to take advantage of other people.
But that's not just a RuneScape problem.
No.
It's, I think in WoW, from when I played a bit, I don't necessarily remember scams per se, but there definitely were botters. There was the spam in the chats, probably people doing nefarious things, but I just never delved too into it. And WoW, I feel too, because it's such an expansive world, lots of the areas you're not going to see anyone.
So
RuneScape's pretty similar, but the go-to spots, even around it, you're still going to see people running back and forth. There's still going to be some activity at places. I guess in RuneScape it's just a bit more personal, just of how it works.
Actually, that's a great point. Kind of moving away from scammers, though, with RuneScape in comparison to WoW. With WoW, there's only really whatever is the most popular area, whatever is the most biggest update.
If I remember, it's wherever the new expansion is,
exactly,
because that's where everyone's playing.
But the nice thing about RuneScape is all throughout the land, there's obviously the few exceptions where you will never see players, but for the most part, you will always see people in not even like common areas. Sometimes you go somewhere where you don't think it's a common area, like Canifis, let's say. You're just doing some quests over in the...
But that's still a fairly big city, because there's the quest lines, there's the Slayer Tower.
But it's the agility course there that really brings the crowd.
Okay, so yeah, there's the points of interest.
Exactly. That's the nice part. There's always a point of interest everywhere in RuneScape. There is, instead of just condensed areas, it's dense but over a larger space in terms of like seeing people.
Yeah.
That might not be true for many games, but the nice thing is RuneScape has dedicated worlds or servers for those mini games. Like if you were to do pest control but you weren't on the dedicated world 344, it'll be empty. You won't see a single soul there, but the minute you jump to world 344, you will see so many people. Unfortunately, you'll get spammed in chat by Vegas people, gambling, and then not bad, but annoying depending on...
the clan chats.
Chats.
Most recently, I saw join some Iron Man dedicated clan chat. Make friends. And,
it's nice.
That's okay, because that's within the game. I know I'd always report and ignore the gamblers or buy RuneScape Gold.
Firecape.
Buy Firecape. And then the Discord servers I was not a big fan of. Because I don't know what's going on in those servers. I'm sure it's nothing bad. I'd hope it's nothing bad.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, at that point I just started to ignore them. And it does clean out the chat a whole bunch.
It does. I mean, I've noticed when I report the scammers or the gamblers or the advertisers, and I mute or ignore the clan chats that don't apply to me, the chat will open up and I'll see every so often people having conversations. You know what? I'm gonna challenge both you and I. Let's bring more conversation back into RuneScape. Let's go back in and just create open discussions about whatever. I know I'm really bad when I'm keeping to myself. Typically when I'm high alking in the GE or doing like solo things, I'm just like too lazy to respond. I only get involved if there's someone who's not a bot that's scamming. I immediately call them out, but I think we should go back in and just talk to people.
I think we're on the same mindset. Let's switch it up a bit. Instead of focusing on these negatives, there are the positives of RuneScape, which, of course, everyone knows, but we don't talk about too much. Definitely back then, I remember a whole lot more socializing, the chit-chat, even running back and forth, just saying stupid things like, oh, hey, how's it going? Or the classic meme, you're at Draenor chopping willows.
What's your
woodcutting levels? Woodcutting levels? And everyone, would start saying the levels, have the small chit-chats just to go through.
Exactly.
But that's what made the game fun. Recently, what I don't like is that rock crabs, because it is so AFKable. By the way, rock crabs in general are members, but it's one of the best training areas.
Rock crabs or sand crabs? Sand
Yes.
crabs overthrown. Both? Yeah,
Both.
you're right.
Because rock crabs, I'm always going to call them rock crabs, because that's what I just originally started at. North of Relica, bunch of rock crabs, low defense, high HP, easy stats.
I remember us boosting to get dragon gear.
Everyone would always chit-chat, how's it going, what's going on. You
shoot the shit.
Exactly, you shoot the shit. Nowadays, even at sand crabs, half of the time they're bots. I only had one fruitful talk recently, but it was a guy more or less trying to scam me, or he just wants free handouts.
And
The best part is, he was Venezuelan, I'm assuming, because he was speaking Spanish, so I had to Google Translate. And sad to say, but like most people, I only knew the naughty words in Spanish. So the rest of it I had to translate. We had a fruitful discussion of how he is lazy. He won't... he had a toxic blowpipe, and that's like, 4 mil now? He wanted me to give him half a mil because he needs a bond. He's running out. If that's true, I don't know. Most likely.
He could easily just do Zola, though.
Yeah, he couldn't get the money himself. He couldn't sell some of his gear. I think he had 4 mil cash, the blowpipe, a whole bunch of other stuff. And he still wanted me to give him free stuff.
I'd say 500k, even in the slow method, which is high alking. Like, if you got 4 mil, you could buy so many stacks of either longbows, bolts. I know I like to go to onyx bolts for at least my high alking, but like he had the tools necessary to make 500,000.
But at least he wasn't a bot. At least he was communicating.
True.
I had some chit-chat. It made that night that much more fun. And that's what I like about it. You run into these random people. Sometimes you'll add them to your friends list. I think that's what I do. Half my friends list, I don't even know.
Oh, see, I forgot
Actually,
half of mine.
more than half, I don't know. And I'll still see them log on every now and then. I don't remember how I met them, what we were doing, but you slowly build that database.
Exactly. I
And
mean,
we should bring that back.
we
New
need
challenge. Wherever you are, grinding, doing whatever, start some small chit-chat.
Yeah. See
Get
what
the
everyone else is up
community
to.
going.
I think that's why RuneScape blew up when it first came out, was because it was just a game where everyone would talk to one another. It was
MapleStory with the actual gameplay.
It was MapleStory with content. And for all you MapleStory fans, if you are listening, I'm sorry.
But that's just how I remember it. Never got past level 30, but I still remember you high-ass level players sitting in your chairs, just chit-chatting, LARPing.
Dude, rip MapleStory 2. Off topic, I know, but rip MapleStory 2. It's gone forever.
At least the U.S. servers. I think Korea still has theirs, or China.
Korea.
One of them is still on. I mean, yeah, that's an MMO. At least there was the chit-chat, some sense of community, some sense of socialization. But that's definitely what we have to aspire to start doing more.
And there will definitely be players out there in RuneScape that will respond, that will kind of have that sense of like, oh man, someone's talking to me. Hell, you could probably make someone's day just saying like, what's up? What you working on, bud?
Exactly. Instead of just you saying, hey, how's it going? What's up? Or just saying something random and stupid. 9 out of 10 times, no one responds. They're too busy.
I think my favorite moment when you and I grind together, I remember we're doing a whole bunch of Mortania, which is the swamp lands.
Yes.
We were getting towards the end of one quest that was just a bitch and a half, and there was this other player.
Was it? In aid of Myrique?
In aid of Myrique, just ridiculously long. And there was this other player. He was
an Iron Man.
And he was just like, dude, this is a bitch and a half. And I remember your response clearly, and it's always in my head.
Just poo pee pee. But I felt for him. At the end, there were 2 routes, and you have to, like, kill the vampires.
I lucked out. I got so lucky with doing Route 1, which is the 2 high-leveled vampires, and they did not target my escort.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to go through it without him dying, and he gets low enough level, he just gets the fuck out of there. He leaves you by your lonesome. But even if you kill him, you can't advance. He has to stay there with you.
And you can give him food, but if he gets targeted, he just eats it up like it's...
You could give him food and some armor. I should have gotten the armor, but I was lazy. I thought, I could do that. I'm high enough level. Nope. Took me at least 6-7 tries. And this dude, Iron Man, he was having trouble with it too. But you just gotta have some fun. I mean, it was late. I drank, so...
Our brains were fried at that point. I mean, it may not be justified, but, like, at the same time, I justify it because we were so fried from our quest. Like, you were going exactly what he was going through, so it makes sense that the response was so simple. It was just like, I'm ready to log off. I'm ready to put an end to my day. Poo-poo pee-pee.
Exactly. At least, we're having fun.
We're at least acknowledging that he's there. He's not just talking to us and like we're just silent. It's just, even if it's toxic or whatever your opinions might be, it's a response. We're at least saying like, we know your pain.
Is that a toxic response? I feel it's more so on the level of shit posting.
That's where I would put it. It's just for the giggles.
I mean, I guess it could be depending on how you view it, but it's nothing inherently bad.
No. I mean, you're not making fun of him. I'm just being presumptuous of people who might say it's toxic behavior. But I myself, if I was that player, I would have been laughing. I'd been like, you too, huh? That would have been my response. Just knowing because of the route that we were running, I'm sure he saw you running back and forth multiple times.
Probably. Because I was running back and forth too many times.
I should have gotten you food. I don't even know what I was doing when I was done. I was fairly drunk myself.
But either way, that's what makes the game memorable. Those small interactions.
It's iconic, like, even if he took away nothing, he'll be like, dude, that one character, that one player, what kind of response was that?
You know what? I don't think we've mentioned it yet. I don't know if you wanted to add it to the beginning or just leave it here as a nice little golden nugget. But in-game, my original account was RuneKid492. Rune, as in RuneScape, kid, because I was literally a kid. 492, because I think RuneKid was taken. I forgot if that was one of those auto-generated usernames suggestions, or if I just looked at the keyboard and I'm like, 492. Either way. And then recently, I wanted to change it up because I'm no longer a kid. My go-to shitposting username, Anime Titter. Tidder. It's perfect. It's unique. It has a bit of that weeb influence. And, you're going to get reactions. Classic.
It is classic, honestly.
But I'd argue yours, it truly is the OG, because you've kept it all this time.
And there's a funny story behind it, though. So my username is Mega Butter. I mean, literally just spell out butter and mega with preceding it. And the reason it was that is because I wanted to do Mega Butterman because I was a kid and I thought butter was hilarious because I used to watch Ed, Edd, and Eddy. So I thought Mega Butterman would be perfect. Too many characters. I'm like, well, shit. I'll just do Mega Butter.
Looking back, you could have done Butterman.
I could have done Butterman.
But Mega Butter...
It's iconic.
It's even more iconic. Butterman, a superhero? Oh, okay. Screw this guy. But Mega Butter...
You wouldn't think it's a name for a person until you literally have used it for an entire... Like, almost a majority of my life. Almost a majority of my life at this point. Because I was 12. I'm 25 going on to 26 now. For a majority of my life, Mega Butter has hung out with me.
It truly is iconic. At this point, it's historical. And it is at the helm of, I guess, our de facto clan, the Butter family.
The Butter family, yep. Your Iron Man account.
Yes, Butter Boy. Buttr space BOI. Boy.
Boy. I decided to stick with the metric system for my Iron Man account and did Terra Butter.
Terra Butter. Mega Butter.
Terra Butter. I was going to do Giga Butter, but I fucked up on the tutorial island, and she was not an Iron Man at the end.
I mean, at that point, can't you just delete it? Are there ways to delete the account? I think so.
There are, but they're tedious, and I am one lazy son of a bitch. But Giga Butter will always be there.
Probably change that name and then just make a new one.
I'll do that for our Group Iron Man adventures.
Yes.
Which, when Group Iron Man comes out, don't you worry. We'll keep you up to date on all of that jazz.
I was also going to say we need to get the clan chat going so we could have some community going with the podcast. Get some ideas, get a following going.
Yeah,
do things together.
We'll probably post that or even talk about that and just leave our clan chat information in the podcast on our social media. Right now we got Twitter, Instagram, our YouTube. That's probably going to be the slower of all of them, just because we're going to want to have visuals going along with our audio. And
that seems like a fun side project. Get the classic podcast with the moving pictures, even if it's just stick figures with like RuneScape item vectors on top of it.
Well, I mean, and if we're ever talking about like the news and stuff, like how we were talking about the stat changes, just posted it so you guys can see it. I know YouTube is obviously a more commonly used platform for podcasts, or at least for anybody who's PC gaming. Yeah, no, look out for our handle. Our handle is quite literally, I think our Twitter handle is at Lumbridge. Welcome to Lumbridge. We couldn't fit all of that on our handle. Our Instagram, I'll have to double check. I know this doesn't seem professional now, but
we have people on it. Trust us, we're big shots. We have other people doing the social medias.
Quite literally just my fiance. But we have an Instagram. It's going to also be Welcome to Lumbridge. I think for the most part, at least the Instagram is just going to be shit posts and memes. And of course, we'll have our podcast on as many podcast streaming apps and or programs as possible. So give us a shout out to your friends. And I know this is a semi plug-in.
I mean, at this point, this is the introduction. You got to have a taste of who we are, what we're like, what we do in game, what we think. Going on, definitely going to be a bit more informative, a lot more stories. At the same time, we're here for you. If you do have anything you want us to dive into, just let us know. We'll obviously try and get that in a future podcast. A whole lot of stuff on our plate we do want to get done, so we're obviously going to try and throw those into the mix and just get a nice variety going. Informational, some stories, just a bit of everything.
The whole reason why we're making this is for you guys. Like, this is for the community. So let us know. I know there will be potentially veterans who want us to cover more high-end gear or high-end stuff or end game. But please understand, like, we're making this for the new players. We really want to welcome everybody to RuneScape. We want to start small, and later down the road, we will get there. Trust me, we will get there.
After a bit of research, though, there are a whole lot of other YouTubers, podcasters, people that talk about RuneScape, and I do feel a lot of it is that end game meta. And to be fair, I'm not even at that point. Right now I'm level 81, but everything's like level 60 and lower. Except for a few stats. So I'm not at that point. Like I said, hardcore casual. I'm enjoying the game at my pace. I'm going to do what I want when I want. So one day, maybe we'll talk about barrows. Maybe.
So for the most part, that's episode 1 for us, and we can't wait to see you guys later on.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. If you actually got this far, I mean, hey, thank you.
Kudos
to you.
All right. We'll see you back in Lumbridge.